Welcome to Tradespoon in the Yellow Tunnel. My name is Vlad Karpel. I'm CEO and founder. I have another live trading room, better than our live trading room. Oh man. No, I'm just kidding. I know there are a lot of live trading rooms. All right, so disclosures, please read them. Trading stock and options involves risk, not suitable for everyone. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not registered with FINRA nor SEC. I'm showing you what I do in my own account based on my own risk tolerance level for general education and information purposes only. All right, trading psychology is important. We're going to talk about that shortly. Let's jump into the market conditions and kind of see where we're heading. All right, so most important chart again, interest rates, right? So interest rates, let's look at the weekly charts, right? Each candlestick here is one bar. So one week worth of data. So you can see this week interest rate pulled back, right? The market did pull back last week because of concern of the inflation, right? Especially by poor treasury, I think 20-year treasury auction last week. And expectation of higher inflation due to tariffs. So we were at 4.60, right, or 50% tariffs in European Union. Today we do not have any backed auctions, and looks like there is a pause in the 50% tariffs, right, that got delayed. And then now International Court said that new administration doesn't have, can act in using the the law that they, I forgot the name of the law from 1970s, but so I'm not sure that means actually they need to roll back the 10% tariffs, or they can just appeal and wait. That I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, but the yield is down as a result of that. That's positive. That's more important. And then the 30-year yield, we were above 5%, as high as 5.10, and we drew pull back. So to me, that's the most important chart. As long as the yields are stable and not, 30-year doesn't approach 5.5, 10-year, doesn't approach 4.8. All right, I think that's overall positive environment for the market, and at least short term. Long term, I have a different view, but short term, I think bulls are in control, right? And these pullbacks like we have today are going to be shallow. Same thing could be said about dollar, kind of not going anywhere. It's not breaking down anymore, but it's also staying right at that 100 level, which is stable, is good, but it's oversold, and I still think it's not making new lows, consolidating. It's extremely oversold, so dollar should rebound back in the next few weeks. VIX below 19, right? We had 18 print this week, so that's also positive for the market. Values, stocks are flat. 3 weeks not going anywhere. QQQ in 3 weeks not going anywhere. So consolidation for past 3 weeks, market's not going anywhere after impressive rally, right, from the bottom of the market. SAM is not going anywhere for 3 weeks. Spiders, same chart. Small caps, same chart. Regional banks. What else is interesting? Bitcoin has been a good proxy for risk taking. I mean, it did make marginal new highs, but if you look where we are now, again, in 3 weeks, it didn't go anywhere. So it's a period of consolidation. It could be 3 weeks, it could be 6 weeks, it could be 8 weeks. And at some point that consolidation will break to the upside or to the downside, depending on the news. I think probably marginal new highs, but a lot of it will depend, let's say, on unemployment data next week. So next big event after NVIDIA earnings this week, which NVIDIA gave up most of the gains, would be unemployment data, right? And everybody's scrutinizing the discrepancy, right? Divergence between the soft economic data and hard economic data. If unemployment ticks up, right? If people are started losing jobs, then that would be bearish for the market, right? If unemployment is strong, and people have jobs and wages are higher and people are spending money, then the market will resolve to the upside. So that was probably the main event for the next week. NVIDIA called Butterfly sold half of a nice profit yesterday morning, but not sure if you can squeeze any more life out of the other half. So, all right, let's talk to Tim. So Tim had a question about NVIDIA. Before we jump into NVIDIA, let's finish the macro. So that Bitcoin is a good proxy. So the bottom line, consolidation. Market is trading sideways. SPX is above 5,900, also didn't go anywhere. And main support would be last week low, 5782, 5,800, right? If you look at the SPX positioning, this is June contracts. Most of this June contracts. You can see, I mean, options data is important. Futures data is important because it shows you what other people think, right? Going back to game theory. So you can see most of the positioning is in June expiration. Very little position is in July. Close to $100 billion worth of June contracts. And a lot of them concentrating in the 6,000 level, which, has a term call wall, right? This is your call wall. So market is going to have hard time breaking through 6,000 level. It tried it a few times. I think it's tried it this week after the announcement that the tariffs are, the Trump administration doesn't have rights to impose 10% tariffs. It did broke through the 6,000 level briefly on S&P futures, but then it reverted back, right? And got denied, and we're back to the 5,900, which we briefly broke through today. So that's your call wall, right? This is your short-term support, right? Support number one. Tim is day trader, right? I think Tim likes to do these short-term trades. So 5,900, right? 5,900. That's support number one, right? And we revisited, and that's where we're trading right now. Last week low was 5,800, right? So there's some, I mean, in relative terms, obviously there's a lot less position, but if I remove this bar, these are pretty large position. So 5,800 is your support number two, right? For day trader, I would use 5,900. If you're thinking about a few weeks, end of next Friday, I would look at 5,800 as support number two. And if you're more of a longer term trading, your positioning, you're thinking about weeks, months, then I would definitely use 5,700. And you can see, if you look at the standard deviations, right? Distribution of possible outcomes, right? Trading is about distribution of possible outcomes. Right? That's how market makers think about trading, right? It's just, what's the probability of market reaches, breaks through the 6,000, right, and gets to this one standard deviation. Well, that's one sigma move, right, and we're at 6,100, right? What's the probability that we're gonna break to the 5,700, right? One sigma move, right? And we know that majority of the time we're gonna spend here, right? 70% of the time we'll spend somewhere between 5,800 and 6,000. Right? And you can have outlier effects, right? If, I don't know, if Russia reached agreement with Ukraine, peace talks, if Trump, I don't know, what, beautiful bill, big, beautiful bill is going to get passed, right? And lower taxes, and people are not too concerned about additional $4 trillion of debt in the next 10 years, then that could be a positive, right? Positive catalyst to get to all-time highs, or the vice versa, right? The bill gets passed, and overall the debt is growing, and bond market, you see multiple bad auctions, some dislocation in the repo market, and then you can have more than one standard deviation to the move. But outside of those dislocations and kind of black swan events, 70% of the time market will trade between 6,000 on SPX and 5,700 on SPX. So this is an important exercise. I encourage you to always do this. If you're a day trader or a longer term trader, whether you're thinking about hours, days, weeks, months, based on your positioning, but always go through this future rehearsal exercise because it helps you to determine what the position size should be, right? So how many of you think we're gonna move, outside of 60, this range, 650, 6150, right? So here. So that would be scenario number one, right? Positive, we're gonna make new highs. Scenario number two, we're trading in the range, kind of somewhere between 5,800 and 6,000, right? And scenario number three, signs of recession, maybe unemployment ticks up, and we're gonna take out this 5,700 position. So you have moved to the left, right? And we're talking about June expiration. So the next 3 weeks, maybe going into July earnings, right? The next earnings cycle, that starts in July. So how many of you say, one, we're gonna reach or maybe take out all-time highs? Two, no, for every positive news there's a negative news. There's still a lot of uncertainty in the market. We're already seeing bad auction and 10, 30-year above 5%. So no, we're trading in the range, right? And there's no NVIDIA earnings is behind us. So we trade AI kind of digestion continues. So we're trading in the range too. And then three, unemployment is going to tick up. Housing market is falling apart. And we're revisiting the lows, recent lows. Joseph, Robert, Tim, Kevin, Zach, welcome. We have some of the new guys. So just say hello. Zach, welcome. Tim, Simon, Dr. Simon, appreciate your time. Shazad, welcome back. Robert, Rick, Paris, welcome back. Mary, I'm not sure if you've been here before, but welcome. Kevin, Joseph, I only see name or email, so I can't really tell always, but welcome. All right. So 1, 2, or 3. Most of you said 2. Anyone else? Zach, what do you think? 1, 2, or 3 between now and let's say end of June? All right, Kevin, 3, Zach, 2.5. All right, I like that. 2.5 is very good. Joseph, Mary, Robert. Oh, Robert said 2. Sorry. All right, so I'm gonna go with 2. Well, I look at trading-based just statistics, right? So most of the time you're gonna stay in this level. And plus 6,000. Like for those of you who said, well, nobody said 1. Okay. 3. I think the trends are turning positive, at least short term and medium term, and we haven't reached kind of these overbought levels. So if you look at our tools, stock forecast toolbox, right? This is the model that predicts. It's going to recalibrate, right? Because we had this long-term model, the 6 months model, basically runs. Each data point is 1 month, right? So we feed into the model, candlestick 1 month's worth of data, volume, open, close for the months, and it shows you basically that the trend is turning flat, neutral. That next few months, I mean, we could get to 585, 592, right? It says by October we're already at these levels, right? But now it doesn't see momentum outside of that level, and it does see that potentially we will revisit the lows. This was done on 1st of April, after one of the worst April in history, right? I think somebody quoted like, since this is the worst April since Great Depression. So now we have one of the strongest rebounds, right, in May. So the model will recalibrate and it will turn slightly positive, right? It will tomorrow, when you're going to look at this, I think it will be more positive because we're already kind of ahead of schedule based on long-term trends, right? So for that reason, and same thing if you look at the bar chart and you look at the more of a traditional technical indicators, right? Moving average, exponential moving average, their own proprietary trend analysis. It basically says we still have a short-term weak trend, medium-term soft trend. That's the most important, I think, and long-term weak trend. And I kind of agree with our model. I think agrees with this model, basically saying that we still haven't reached any overbought levels. Right now we're consolidating, but it's kind of a soft medium-term trend. Basically, we either trading in a trend or similar to 2018, right? If we look at the first term of Trump administration, and if you just follow the same analysis back in 2018, right? We had a sharp pullback in February. Each candlestick here is 1 month, right? So we had a sharp pullback, reached the bottom, same thing, end of March, beginning of April, right, middle of April, and then May, market started rebounding. We actually did make new highs in June, July. So August, June, July, we actually made marginal new highs after July. After the earnings started in July, we actually made new highs. And then, China said we're not going to cooperate, right? Back in 2018, and we're not going to do what you tell us, right? We're a proud nation. Nobody can tell us what to do. And then Trump said, okay, we're going to use the only tool we have is tariffs. The market revisited the lows, and then Powell decided, well, since inflation is growing, let's raise rates. And then market sold off even more, right? So I'm not saying that history has to repeat itself, but at least it makes sense to analyze it. And I think that's the playbook, right? Obviously, if China cooperates and, does what Trump wants, then, you're not going to have a pullback, but, probability of that event is probably low, right? Probability of that event is low, just like reaching a peace agreement between Russia and Ukraine in the first 6 days of administration, also low probability, right? So these things take time, right? These things take time. That means going to 700, Zach. Yeah, so I don't think we're going to have, I think we're not going to have a big pullback in, well, May is gone, in June or July, right? August, and especially in the past few years, June, July have been one of the better months, right? Usually there's a saying, sell in May and go away, right? Because the liquidity dries out, and I agree with that. But you need an event for the market to pull back. So assuming there's no some kind of a black swan event, I think June, July is going to be like 2018, just slowly grinding higher because earnings are better than expected, and Nvidia is still growing, and Microsoft and Google, AI revolution is here. It's just on a brief pause, but it's still going higher. Maybe a very quick one. Yeah, I mean, there could be short-term prices fluctuation for sure, but I mean, I would be surprised if we close this gap, right? The 570 on SPY. I don't know what 700 level. Zach, what index you using for 700 level? But for SPY, 570, right? 570. I would be surprised if we close this gap. All right. Any other questions? All right. So what tools do we have on Tradespoon that can help you kind of navigate market volatility and uncertainty? Well, one is stock forecast toolbox. You can put any stock, you can put futures, ETFs to give you analysis short term, what's going to happen in the next hour, what's going to happen in the next 10 days, not what will happen, but what can happen, right? It gives you, again, this distribution of possible outcomes, right? For next 10 days, model basically says we don't see a lot of momentum outside of 600 level, and potentially we can revisit 570, 575. So that's the range you can expect in the next 10 days. And overall trend is turning slightly negative, right? Because we're reaching that overbought level at 600, right? So, and we had a pullback. So that's useful information. You also can go to company screener, click on the company screener, you will see, again, the model runs, these are long-term trends. So it runs only on the 1st of every month. So it's going to run on June 1st and give you the new rankings. But going into the months of May, one of the better performing sectors were insurance, right? You can see insurance, strong uptrend. Metals and miners, right? Some of the metals and miners, like gold miners, especially had a very strong month, strong momentum going into the months of May. All right, Chuck, we talk. So question. So we do have, Tradespoon, Yellow Tunnel Source. I'm a founder of both companies. Yellow Tunnel has more emphasis on trading psychology. Tradespoon has more emphasis on traditional technical indicators, but the models are very similar, right? Developed by same teams, same people, it's just different models, right? But they're similar. Joseph, thoughts on copper? Copper had a very strong rebound, right? I mean, first it had a drop because of fear of global recession and tariffs, right? You have a sharp drop. Now rebounded together with the market consolidating. it looks like any other charts of high beta stocks. Copper is a good proxy for global economy, right? And there's still fears of recession. So for now, it's consolidating. I think that's good that it's stable, right? At some point, it will, same thing, it trades in a box, right? It trades in a box. And at some point, it will resolve together with the market, right? This is one of the good leading indicator where the market is going. If the market is going to reach all-time highs, the only way it can do it if, copper grinds higher. If, unemployment ticks up and you see signs of recession, right, then it's going to go down. I think it will follow the market. So same opinion that I have on market, I have on copper. Cash secure puts. Yeah, so Chuck, cash secure puts on Tradespoon, I would use Elite service. The question was which services is best to do cash secured puts, right? So if you have a large portfolio, right, and you like to do cash secured puts, or you like to do cover calls, right, larger trades, I would use Elite Circle on Tradespoon. So Elite Circle, I have combination of both stock and option trades, right? So I did NVIDIA, right? I did NVIDIA earnings, I did option trade, right? So in this case, I did the calendar spread, right? So I sold the calendar spread, sold the put spread, right? It was a good trade. Marvell, same thing around the earnings, but that did not work out because Marvell actually earnings are down. And I closed Abbott stock, right? So Elite Circle, you can follow my trades. It's a combination of both short-term and long-term trades, right? You see active trading, you see short-term trading, stock or options, right? So I would use that if you do want to use cash secured put. I mean, I would not trade, weekly options, right? Because these are around earnings, but everything else, right? Like Abbott, I have position in Abbott, I have position in JP Morgan, right? We did JP Morgan this trade this week, right? So, I mean, I bought a call spread. You can definitely do, if you have a large portfolio, you can do, cash secured puts, right? Or credit, or you sell credit put spreads. But that would be the service I would use if you have a larger portfolio and you want to have access to these trades. On Yellow Tunnel, equivalent is dynamic power trader. On Yellow Tunnel, kind of separate, right? You're not going to see, if you look at dynamic power trader, you're not going to see Marvell and NVIDIA short-term trades, right? Not to confuse people. But you will see, you will see JP Morgan, right? You'll see stock trades, and you'll see, JP Morgan trade. So I have Oracle position. I'm trying to get out of the Oracle position. I have JP Morgan. Abbott. I closed the Abbott. So those are the types of trade, and I try to give an example with assumption of the account being $10,000 because most of our clients have $10,000 account. And it's very hard to do cash secured puts in $10,000 portfolio. But if you have a larger portfolio, $25, $50, $100,000 or more, then yes, cash secured put. And then kind of that option wheel where you sell, if you get assigned, then you sell calls and rinse and repeat. Popular strategy, but that requires a bigger portfolio. But you can always, if I'm bullish on JP Morgan, that means, if you have a large portfolio, then cash secure puts make sense. So let me know, Chuck, if that makes sense. So that's Elite Circle on Tradespoon. If you're looking just for signals, we do have active trader, weekly trader, and monthly trader, right? If you look at the active trader every day, the model generates signals. Today, Google, right? So you can say, okay, I like Google. It's a short-term trade, right? This is a short-term signal. It's down 80 basis points. Suggested entry price 171, yesterday's close, or our predicted low. Our predicted low is actually 165, but right now it's trading 170.40, right? So it's already at the entry price. So you wait 15 minutes when the market opens, right? Usually I wait that 15 minutes, find the bottom, right? And okay, at this point, it's a valid signal if you want to hold a position for next week because you think the market is going to grind higher and 5,900 level holds, and you buy Google, right? And it gives you basically idea of only having 4 positions at a time, especially if you're new to our services, or you're new to trading 4 active positions and not risk more than 2.5%. And we propose to break that into 2 trades. right? You buy one at 171.86 and one at 171, right? If you're using yesterday's close entry price. But if you do see a pullback in the morning and you want to look at our predicted prices, then it's 165, 164. Robert, does it make sense to have both services? You're talking about Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel? I think the idea behind Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel is that if you're an active trader, you just like a lot of signals, you're an experienced trader, I would say, yeah, you want to have both, right? Because you have more ideas, more idea generations. If you're new and you just, this is too much information, right? Because active trader gives you, up to 3 signals, right? Weekly trader, and you want to say, well, I'm not experienced enough. I don't want to give me all these signals. I just want to know what exactly to trade. Then I would use, I think, dynamic power trader, because it segregates, right? It says, okay, these are only long-term trades, right? And earnings power trader is only an earnings power trader, right? So then if you're new and you kind of just want somebody to tell you what to do, then that's what I would choose. If you want to see everything, which some people want to do, then Elite Circle. Elite Circle, it doesn't differentiate between earnings strategies or not earnings strategies. It shows you every single trade that I make. So it will show you every single trade that I make. You can always try it out, right? For 30 days, a lot of people try it out, and if this is something that you don't feel comfortable with, okay, or you think it's redundant, okay, then but we do have a lot of subscribers that have subscription to both Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel because of more signals and different presentation level and different models. So it just depends. Chuck, bull put spread's the same thing, right? Whether you're doing, if I'm bullish on JP Morgan, there's different ways to express that, right? You can buy a stock, you can buy a call vertical, you can sell cash secured put, right? All of these strategies will yield positive results as long as JP Morgan continues to go higher. Some of them are more conservative, right? Spreads give you limited gains, limited losses. Some of them are more aggressive. Sell short put, right? Then it's a lot more aggressive because the losses are unlimited, right? So it just depends on your style of trading. But if I'm bullish on JP Morgan, any bullish strategies will yield positive results, right? And whether it's a credit put spread, debit call spread, directional butterfly, they're all going to work the same way. Robert, yes, elite service will show you all the trades that I make. Yes, all the trades that I make, whether it's in dynamic power trader or yeah. And sometimes some people complain that, oh, Vlad, this is overwhelming, right? If I look at the last 7 days, if you knew, I would. That's why one of the reasons I started Yellow Tunnel in addition to trade psychology. It could be overwhelming, right? Oracle, JP Morgan, Nvidia, Abbott, stocks, options, and almost on daily basis. But for experienced trader, this is great because they can say, well, I agree with you on Nvidia, but I don't agree with you on Marvell. Okay, great. Then that's the idea. Robert, thank you. All right. Anything other questions? All right, guys, that's all I wanted to cover today, right? So kind of give you a lay of the land in terms of my view on the market, some of the services like Elite Circle, picks are signals. So you kind of on your own, but these are, again, geared toward experienced trader that know exactly what they need, right? So if you're doing cash secure put and you don't need to know what I trade, which signals I trade, then you just pick weekly trader. That's also can give you idea. But if you want to know what I trade, then yeah, I would use the Elite Circle. You can, if you're just looking for spreads, we have spreads or premium service. If you just want to look stocks, it's stocks. Thank you, Robert. There, Zax, thank you. All right, guys, that's all I have for today. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend. I'll see you guys next week. Keith will do the closing bell. Part of Elite Circle, you get closing bell and opening bell, which you can participate. Hopefully, you can join us. We'll give 30-day money back guarantee. Try it out and let me know what you guys think. And we'll do this again next Friday. So we have a lot of good turnout today. So try to be there next Friday, same time. Thank you very much and have a great day. Oh, sorry, where I am with NVIDIA. So I forgot about that. So sorry, Tim, about that. So I sold the put spread and I bought calendar call spread. And in Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel, I'm out of the trade, right? I collected 51 cents, closed for 35, made money. In my personal account, I had more contracts, so I do have June 6th contract. So this will expire worthless, and I have till June 6th for the NVIDIA to continue going higher. Likelihood of that, I think, based on the current price action, is very little, right? It looks like bears stepped in and lost all the momentum. So at this point, I'm out in the Tradespoon and Yellow Tunnel account. Just took my profits. If you're still holding on to NVIDIA and you have a bullish positions and it's out of the money calls, I would be careful. Maybe take your loss or, yeah. Google, I'm bullish. Google, this is a bullish signal today. I don't have a position in Google per se, but I think it's a great position. This is a good example where you can use the active trader, find signals, and if you like the signal, then you can say, okay, I'm going to do cash secure put on Google. I mean, keep in mind this is a more of a short-term model, but if you're thinking about June is too early, probably July, that could be another good idea. All right, guys, thank you very much and have a great day. Tim, I mean, you want to be consistent, right? Sometimes it makes sense to wait, sometimes it doesn't, right? When the market is overbought, probably doesn't make sense. When the market is oversold, it makes sense to wait. That's usually what I do. But, this is kind of long-term NVIDIA, I think I am bullish. Yeah. All right, guys, thank you very much and have a great day.